The meeting room smelled like sulfur and something that reminded Jake Peterson of rotting fish. He sat in the human chair, which was smaller than all the others around the massive circular table. The aliens had done this on purpose. They always did things like this on purpose. Jake looked across the table at the three aliens who controlled humanity's fate in the galaxy. Chancellor Vexthul had three heads, each one uglier than the last. His middle head was talking while the other two heads looked bored. The Vorthan representative was a tall crystal creature that made musical sounds when it moved. The third alien looked like a giant bug and kept clicking its mandibles together. This was the 847th meeting. Jake had counted them all. For 50 years, humans had been coming to these meetings. For 50 years, they had been treated like dirt. "The human request for equal voting rights is denied," said Vexthul's middle head. His left head was picking its teeth. His right head was staring at the ceiling. "Humans are too young, too violent, and too stupid to have equal rights in the Galactic Council." Jake had heard this speech before many times. He kept his face calm, but inside he was getting angry. Very angry. "We have followed all the rules," Jake said in a quiet voice. "We have paid all the fees. We have done everything you asked us to do." The crystal alien made a sound like breaking glass. This was how it laughed. "Humans think following rules makes them equal to us. How cute." The bug alien clicked its mandibles faster. "Humans smell bad. Humans think bad thoughts. Humans should be happy we let them in this room at all." Jake had been Earth's ambassador for 10 years. Before him, there had been other ambassadors. All of them had sat in this same small chair, listening to the same insults, making the same requests, and getting the same answers. Nothing ever changed. "Perhaps we could discuss the trade restrictions," Jake said. He pulled out a data pad. "Human colonies need medical supplies. We can trade rare metals and manufactured goods." All three alien heads of Vexthul started laughing at the same time. It sounded horrible. The crystal alien joined in with its glass-breaking laugh. The bug alien made a sound like a garbage disposal eating rocks. "Humans want to trade with us?" Vexthul's middle head said between laughs. "What could primitive bipedal parasites possibly have that we want?" Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. He had been called many names in these meetings: primitive, violent, stupid, smelly, but this was new. "Parasites?" Jake said. "Yes, parasites," Vexthul said. His three heads nodded together. "You take resources from space. You make colonies where you are not wanted. You spread like a disease across the galaxy. At least parasites serve some purpose in nature. Humans serve no purpose at all." The other aliens made their horrible laughing sounds again. Jake noticed that other alien representatives around the room were listening now. Some of them were laughing too. Others looked uncomfortable, but none of them said anything. Jake had sat through thousands of insults. He had been patient when they put him in the small chair. He had stayed calm when they made him wait for hours before meetings. He had smiled politely when they mocked human culture, human food, human music, and human art. He had nodded respectfully when they called humans primitive and violent. But something about being called a parasite was different. Something about the way all of them were laughing was different. Jake realized that this was never going to change. In 50 years, nothing had changed. In 100 years, nothing would change. In 1,000 years, humans would still be sitting in the small chair, listening to the same insults, begging for the same respect that would never come. Jake stood up slowly. The room got quiet. Even Vexthul stopped laughing. "Is the human leaving?" the bug alien asked. "Did we hurt its feelings?" More laughter from around the room. Jake picked up his data pad and put it in his briefcase. He closed the briefcase with a soft click that seemed very loud in the quiet room. "Ambassador Peterson," Vexthul said. His middle head was smiling, showing teeth like broken glass. "Surely you are not giving up so easily. Humans are supposed to be stubborn, are they not?" Jake looked at Vexthul for a long moment. Then he looked at the crystal alien. Then at the bug alien. Then at all the other aliens around the room who had been laughing at him, at his people, at his entire species. "Thank you for your time. Jake said in a very quiet voice. He walked toward the door. Behind him, the laughter started again. "Run home to your little planet, human," Vexthul called after him. "Tell your people that they should be grateful for any scraps we throw their way. Maybe next time they will send someone who smells better," the bug alien added. The laughter got louder. Jake reached the door and stopped. He turned around one more time. The entire room was watching him now, waiting to see what the human would do. Waiting to see him beg or cry or get angry so they could laugh some more. Jake smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that made smart people take a step backward. "Goodbye," Jake said. Then he walked out of the room. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. The laughter continued for several more minutes. None of the aliens in that room realized they would never hear a human ask for anything ever again. 6 months passed after Jake Peterson walked out of the Galactic Council meeting. The aliens barely noticed that humans had stopped asking for things. They were too busy congratulating themselves on putting the annoying humans in their place. Dr. Lisa Carter stood in her laboratory on Earth, looking at blueprints that covered every wall. The blueprint showed something that had never been built before, something that would make the aliens remember humanity forever. "Are you sure this will work?" asked Pete Rodriguez. He was the best engineer on Earth, and even he looked worried as he studied the plans. Lisa pushed her glasses up her nose. She had been working on this project for 4 months without sleep, living on coffee and determination. "The math is solid. The materials exist. The only question is whether we can build it fast enough." Amy Thompson looked up from her computer screen. She was in charge of the artificial intelligence systems that would control the project. "The AI calculations are finished. We can do this, but we need every human colony to help." Lisa nodded. She had already talked to the leaders of every human settlement in the galaxy: Mars colony, the Jupiter mining stations, the research bases around Saturn, the far colonies near Alpha Centauri. All of them had agreed to help. All of them were tired of being treated like garbage by the aliens. "What about the aliens?" Pete asked. "What if they figure out what we are doing?" "They think we are just mining asteroids," Amy said. "They see our ships moving around the asteroid belt, but they think we are just collecting rocks like always. They think humans are too stupid to do anything important." Lisa smiled. It was a cold smile. "Let them think that. By the time they understand what we are building, it will be too late." The project had a code name: Gesture. Only a few thousand humans knew what Gesture really was. The rest just knew they had jobs to do. Mine this asteroid, build this component, transport these materials, ask no questions. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, something incredible was taking shape. Captain Ron Hayes commanded the mining ship Big Bertha. His job was to strip entire asteroids and turn them into raw materials. He had been doing this job for 15 years, but never like this. "Tear it all down," he told his crew as they approached another asteroid. "We need every gram of metal, every trace of rare elements. Leave nothing behind." His crew worked faster than they had ever worked before. The mining lasers ran 24 hours a day. The processing plants never stopped. Huge cargo ships arrived every few hours to carry away the materials. "Captain," said his first officer, a young woman named Kate Bell. "This is the 15th asteroid this month. What are we building that needs so much material?" Ron looked at her for a moment. Kate was a good officer, and she deserved an answer. But he had his orders. "Something important," he said finally. "Something that will make sure our children never have to bow their heads to aliens again." Kate nodded. She did not ask any more questions. On Mars, the factories worked day and night. Dr. Frank Lee was in charge of manufacturing the special components for Gesture. His workers did not know what they were building, but they could tell it was something amazing. "These metal pieces are huge," said Jenny Parker, one of his best technicians. "And this alloy is something I have never seen before. It is stronger than anything we have ever made." Frank watched as the massive components rolled off the assembly line. Each piece was perfectly crafted, designed to fit together with thousands of other pieces like a giant puzzle. How big is this thing going to be? Jenny asked. Frank looked at the specifications on his screen. Even he could barely believe the numbers. Big enough, he said. In space, the construction crews worked in shifts around the clock. Chief Engineer Dan Walsh directed hundreds of workers as they slowly assembled the pieces. The work was dangerous and difficult, but nobody complained. Pass. Me that connector, Dan called to his partner, Sue Martin. They were working on the outer shell of the structure, wearing heavy spacesuits and using magnetic boots to stay attached to the growing construction. Sue handed him the connector and looked around at the worksite. Even after 3 months of construction, she could not tell what they were building. It was just too big to see all at once. Dan, she said over the radio, what do you think this thing is? Dan had been wondering the same thing. All he knew was that it was the most important project humanity had ever attempted. I think, Dan said slowly, it is going to be something that makes the aliens very unhappy. Sue laughed. Good. I hope it makes them very, very unhappy. The alien scouts occasionally flew through the human solar system. They saw the increased mining activity and the busy construction sites, but they did not investigate closely. Humans were always building things. Humans were always moving asteroids around. It was what primitive species did. Commander Zlix of the patrol fleet filed his regular report. Human activity in the Sol system remains normal, increased industrial, production consistent with typical human expansion patterns. No military buildups detected, no cause for concern. The report was filed away and forgotten. The aliens had more important things to worry about than what the primitive humans were doing in their little corner of space. But in the asteroid belt, something magnificent and terrible was growing. Something that would change everything between humans and aliens forever. Something that would make the galaxy remember that humans might be patient, but their patience was not infinite. The work continued in secret, day after day, month after month, and nobody in the galaxy had any idea what was coming. Junior Surveyor Clicked was having a bad day. His job was to investigate strange readings that other aliens reported, and most of the time it was nothing interesting. Gas clouds, broken satellites, space junk, boring stuff that wasted his time. Today, he was flying toward the human solar system. Some deep space sensors had detected unusual gravity readings near their asteroid belt. Probably just humans moving big rocks around like they always did. Clickta was a mantid, which meant he looked like a giant praying mantis with 4 arms and big compound eyes. He was young for his species, only 200 years old, and this was his first real job. Most of the time, senior officers gave him the assignments that nobody else wanted. Computer, drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the human system, he said as he settled into his pilot chair. Acknowledged, the computer replied, dropping to normal space in 3, 2, 1. The stars stopped streaking past his windows. Clickta looked at his instruments to get his bearings. There was the human sun, a yellow star that was nothing special. There were the human planets, small and mostly useless except for the third, one where the humans lived. Scan for gravity anomalies, Clickta ordered. The computer made beeping sounds as it worked. Gravity anomaly detected in the asteroid belt between the 4th and 5th planets. The mass readings are unusual. Clicked sighed. Probably just humans collecting rocks for their colonies. Set course for the anomaly. Let us get this over with. His ship moved deeper into the human system. Clicked had been here twice before, and it always looked the same. Busy human ships flying everywhere, mining operations, orbital stations. Humans were always building things and moving things around. It was what primitive species did when they were trying to pretend they were civilized. As his ship got closer to the asteroid belt, Clickta started to notice something strange. There were no human ships in the area. Usually this part of space was full of mining vessels and cargo haulers. Today it was empty. Computer, are you sure the gravity readings are correct? He asked. Readings confirmed. Large artificial structure detected. Mass approximately 3 times that of the human homeworld's moon. Clicked sat up straight in his chair. 3 times the mass of Earth's moon? That was impossible. Humans did not have the technology to build anything that big. "Show me visual contact," he ordered. The main screen flickered and then showed what was ahead of his ship. At first, Clickta thought there was something wrong with his equipment. Then he realized what he was looking at, and all 4 of his arms started shaking. Floating in space was a structure so large it blocked out the stars behind it. It was clearly artificial, made of gleaming metal and materials that reflected the light from the human sun, but its shape made Clickta's compound eyes bulge with shock. It was a hand, a giant human hand made of metal and exotic materials. 4 fingers were folded down toward the palm, but the middle finger was extended straight up, pointing toward the galactic core where all the civilized worlds were located. Clickta knew what this gesture meant. Every species in the galaxy knew what it meant. It was the ultimate insult, the universal sign of contempt and defiance. And the humans had built it on a scale that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Computer," Clickta said in a voice that was barely a whisper. "Record everything. Full spectrum analysis. Measure the structure. I need complete data." Recording. Initiated. Structure measurements. Height from base to tip of extended digit, 400 kilometers. Width at base, 300 kilometers. Construction appears to be advanced metallurgy with exotic matter reinforcement. Energy readings suggest active power systems throughout the structure. Clickta could not believe what he was seeing. The humans had built something that made the greatest engineering achievements of the Galactic Council look like children's toys, and they had shaped it into the most offensive gesture possible. "Scan for weapons," Clickta ordered. "Multiple weapon systems detected. Energy signatures are unknown. Technology appears to be beyond current galactic standards." This was getting worse by the minute. Not only had the humans built this massive insult, but they had armed it with weapons that his computer could not even identify. Clickta activated his emergency transmitter. "This is Junior Surveyor Clickta to Galactic Command. Priority Alpha message. The humans have built something in their asteroid belt. You need to see this immediately." "What kind of something?" came the reply from his supervisor. Clickta looked at the giant middle finger again. It was perfectly positioned so that any ship approaching from galactic space would see it clearly. There was no way to miss the message. "They built a monument," Clickta said. "A very large, very rude monument, and I think it is meant for us." His ship's computer chimed with an incoming transmission. The signal was coming from the giant structure itself. "Unknown vessel," said a human voice. "You are in restricted space. Please identify yourself and state your business." Clickta activated his transmitter with one shaking arm. "This is Junior Surveyor Clickta of the Galactic Survey Corps. I am conducting routine investigation of gravity anomalies." "Understood, Surveyor. You are welcome to observe and record. Please maintain minimum distance of 50 kilometers. Have a pleasant day." The transmission ended. Clickta sat in his pilot chair, staring at the massive structure that the humans had built. The polite tone of the human voice made it even worse somehow. They were not angry or threatening. They were just done. Done with being insulted. Done with being ignored. Done with asking politely for respect. Clickta completed his survey and prepared to return to galactic space. As his ship turned away from the structure, he took one last look at the giant metal finger pointing toward the civilized worlds. He had a feeling that nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest in 300 years. Representatives from 47 different species filled the great chamber, all talking at once in their various languages. The noise was incredible. Chancellor Vexthul stood at the center podium, his 3 heads red with anger. In his hands he held a data crystal containing Junior Surveyor Clickta's report. He had watched the recording 17 times, and each time made him angrier. "Order!" Vexthul shouted. "We will have order in this chamber." The noise slowly died down. Vexthul activated the holographic display system. The image of the giant human structure appeared in the center of the room, rotating slowly so everyone could see it clearly. The reaction was immediate. Some aliens gasped. Others made sounds of disgust. A few started laughing, though their laughter sounded nervous. "This," Vexthul said, pointing at the hologram with all three hands, "is what the humans have built. A monument to their barbarism, an insult to every civilized species in the galaxy." Counselor Thexara, a tall blue alien with tentacles instead of arms, raised one tentacle to speak. "Chancellor, surely this is some kind of mistake. Humans do not have the technology to build something this large." "The evidence is clear," Vexthul replied. "Our best scientists have analyzed the data. This structure is real, it is massive, and it is pointing directly at our worlds." Representative Clixoth, who looked like a walking tree with eyes, made a rustling sound that meant he was thinking. "How did they build this without us knowing? Our scouts patrol their system regularly." "Because we underestimated them," said Admiral Zephyr as he entered the chamber. He was a celestial, a species that looked like armored sharks that walked on two legs. While we were laughing at the humans, they were working. While we were calling them primitive, they were building the most advanced structure in the galaxy. The chamber erupted in angry voices again. Vexthul pounded his gavel until the noise stopped. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" Vexthul asked. Zephyr's shark-like teeth gleamed as he smiled. "We destroy it. We send a fleet to the human system and blast their insulting monument into space dust. Then we teach them what happens when primitive species offend their betters." Many aliens cheered at this suggestion. Others looked worried. "What if they resist?" asked Counselor Mixuri, a crystal being who spoke in musical tones. "The structure appears to have weapon systems." "Human weapons," Zephyr said with contempt. "Primitive projectile throwers and basic energy beams. Our shields can handle anything they can build." Vexthul nodded with all three heads. "Then it is decided. Admiral Zephyr will lead a joint fleet to destroy this monument and teach the humans proper respect." Within a week, the largest military fleet in galactic history assembled at the staging area near Proxima Centauri. 12 different species contributed their most advanced warships. The Celestial Empire sent their flagship, the Stellar Conquest. The Zephyrian Republic provided 3 heavy battle cruisers. Even the peaceful Vorthon Collective sent warships, their crystal hulls glittering like jewels in space. Admiral Zephyr stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the tactical display that showed his fleet. 200 ships of all sizes and types, enough firepower to crack a planet in half. "Sir," said his tactical officer, Commander Blixtar, "all ships report ready for hyperspace jump." "Excellent," Zephyr said. "Set course for the human system. Maximum speed. Let us end this embarrassment quickly." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, crossing the galaxy in hours instead of years. When they dropped back to normal space at the edge of the human system, Zephyr was confident that this would be the shortest military action in galactic history. "There it is, sir," Blixtar said, pointing at the tactical display. "The human structure. It is even bigger than the reports indicated." Zephyr looked at the giant middle finger on his screen. Even he had to admit it was impressive. But impressive or not, it was an insult that could not be tolerated. "All ships, assume attack formation. Target the base of the structure. We will topple their monument and watch it fall into their sun." The alien fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Zephyr felt proud as he watched his ships advance. This would show the humans what happened when they forgot their place. Then the human structure started to move. "Sir," Blixtar said, his voice suddenly worried, "I am detecting massive energy buildup from the human monument. And, sir, there are other energy signatures, many other signatures." On the tactical display, new contacts appeared around the giant finger, dozens of them, then hundreds. Small craft were launching from hidden bays inside the structure. "What are those?" Zephyr demanded. "Unknown, sir. But they are moving very fast and they appear to be armed." The first wave of human defenders reached the alien fleet in minutes. They were small ships no bigger than fighters, but they moved with incredible speed and precision. Their weapons fired projectiles that moved at nearly the speed of light. "Shields up," Zephyr ordered. "Return fire." The alien ships activated their energy shields, the most advanced defensive technology in the galaxy. The human projectiles hit the shields and went right through them. The projectiles punched holes in alien ship hulls like they were made of paper. "Sir," Blixtar shouted, "our shields are useless. Their weapons are using some kind of exotic matter that our defenses cannot stop." More human ships poured out of the giant structure. The alien fleet, which had seemed so powerful moments before, was being torn apart by weapons they could not defend against. "Retreat," Zephyr ordered. "All ships retreat immediately." But it was too late for many of his ships. The humans had disabled their engines and weapons, leaving them drifting helplessly in space. As Zephyr's damaged flagship limped away, from the battle he could see human ships painting messages on the hulls of the disabled alien vessels. The message was simple and appeared in every galactic language. "Next time, try asking nicely." The Galactic Council chamber was completely silent for the first time in its history. The same aliens who had been laughing at humans just months before now sat quietly in their chairs, staring at their hands or tentacles or whatever they used. Instead of hands, Jake Peterson walked into the chamber carrying a simple briefcase. He wore the same suit he had worn to every previous meeting, but somehow he looked different now. Taller, more confident. The small human chair was still there, but Jake ignored it and walked to the center of the room. Chancellor Vexthul looked terrible. His 3 heads were pale, and his eyes were bloodshot. He had not slept since Admiral Zephyr's fleet limped back from the human system with half their ships disabled and the other half painted with embarrassing messages. "Ambassador Peterson," Vexthul said quietly, "thank you for coming." Jake set his briefcase on the floor and looked around the room. Every alien representative was looking at him now, but none of them were laughing. The crystal beings were dim, instead of their usual bright glow. The bug-like species kept their mandibles firmly shut. Even the proud Celestials looked defeated. "I am not Ambassador Peterson anymore," Jake said in a calm voice. "Earth has recalled me from that position. I am simply Jake Peterson, a human who has come to deliver a message." "What message?" asked Counselor Thexara. Her tentacles were wrapped nervously around her chair. Jake opened his briefcase and pulled out a single sheet of paper. "The message is simple. Humanity is withdrawing from galactic politics. We will no longer attend these meetings. We will no longer ask for your permission or approval for anything." Vexthul's middle head leaned forward. "Surely we can discuss this. Perhaps we were too hasty in our previous decisions. Perhaps humans deserve more consideration than we previously thought." Jake looked at him with the same expression he had worn when he walked out of the chamber 6 months ago. "You called us parasites, you laughed at us. You treated us like garbage for 50 years. Did you think we would forget?" "People say things in anger," Vexthul said desperately. "Surely reasonable beings can find common ground." "We tried to be reasonable for 50 years, Jake replied. "It did not work, so we decided to try something else." Representative Clixoth made his rustling sound. "Your monument is impressive, but surely destroying our fleet was excessive. Many good beings were hurt." Jake's expression did not change. "No one was killed. Your ships were disabled and sent home with a message. If we had wanted to destroy your fleet, there would be nothing left but space dust." The aliens in the chamber looked at each other nervously. They had all seen the battle reports. The human weapons had cut through their best defenses like they did not exist. If the humans had wanted to kill, they could have wiped out the entire galactic fleet in minutes. "What do you want from us?" asked Counselor Mexuri, her crystal form flickering with worry. "Nothing," Jake said. "We want nothing from you at all. We will defend our territory. We will trade with species that treat us fairly and honestly. We will ignore species that do not. It is very simple." Admiral Zephyr, who had been sitting quietly in the back of the chamber, stood up. His armor was still damaged from the battle. "What about your monument? That insulting structure pointing at our worlds?" Jake smiled, and it was not a friendly smile. "The monument stays where it is. Every ship that enters human space will see it. Every alien who visits our system will be reminded that humans are done asking politely for respect." "This is unacceptable," Vexthul said, his 3 heads speaking at the same time. "The Galactic Council cannot allow such disrespect. Jake picked up his briefcase and started walking toward the door. The Galactic Council can do whatever it wants. Just remember what happened to your fleet when you tried to do something about our monument. He stopped at the door and turned around one last time. Oh, and one more thing. Dr. Lisa Carter, the human who designed our monument, has started working on her next project. She thinks she can build something even more impressive. I wonder what message she will choose next time. Jake walked out of the chamber, leaving the aliens sitting in stunned silence. Within days, everything changed. Trade, requests from alien worlds suddenly became much more polite. The phrase barbaric humans disappeared from galactic news broadcasts. Alien diplomats started using words like please and thank you when dealing with human colonies. The Zephyrian Republic, desperate for the rare metals that human miners produced, sent a formal apology for their previous behavior. The Vorthon Collective offered to share their crystal technology in exchange for human manufacturing techniques. Even the proud Celestial Empire quietly inquired about establishing proper diplomatic relations. In the asteroid belt, the giant middle finger continued to point toward the galactic core. Ships from across the galaxy came to see it, and word spread about the species that had finally said enough. Some aliens were offended, others were impressed, all of them were respectful. On Earth, children pointed excitedly at the distant gleaming structure whenever it was visible in the night sky. Their parents told them the story of how humanity had finally gotten tired of being pushed around and decided to push back. Dr. Lisa Carter stood in her laboratory, looking at blueprints for her next project. She was thinking about building something even bigger, maybe a pair of structures this time. She was considering several possible gestures, each one more creative than the last. Jake Peterson returned to Earth and retired from diplomatic service. He opened a small coffee shop in downtown Seattle and served the best coffee in the city. Sometimes aliens visited his shop and they were always very polite. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Patience was a virtue, but every species had limits, and when those limits were reached, it was better to have been respectful all along than to face the consequences of 50 years of accumulated rudeness. The monument remained in space, a permanent reminder that sometimes the best diplomacy came, not from words but from actions that spoke louder than any speech ever could.